Welcome to this week's edition of Rugby Unfiltered. I'm your host, Jan de Koning, and as always with me, Eugene Eloff. Loffie, welcome.
Hi, thank you, Jan. Looking forward to this conversation.
It's going to be an interesting one. I mean, obviously, there was a lot of South African interest because of individual players, but no South African teams played in any of the European matches this past weekend. But there's some results that have a significant impact or indicator for us on what could happen in the next two rounds of the URC.
Yes, Jan, it was an interesting weekend. Not a lot of surprises, but were two games that came very, very close. I thought, although they played in France, that Bath, who's a top team currently, would beat Bordeaux, but Bordeaux came through 38-26, and Montpellier, we know, are going to beat the Dragons, and Ulster, Exeter. But how close was Toulon to beat Leinster in Ireland? 29-25, if I recall right. That was so close. And I actually supported Toulon there, but yeah, it was a close game. And Leinster at home with their home crowd, they just tend to when they need to, they can dig deep and get the results.
Eugene, I know you're not a fan of speaking about match officials, but Johan van Graan, the Bath coach, had quite a bit to say. Not necessarily about the match officials. I mean, obviously, they're going to be very careful what they say. But he made an interesting point, and having been in France and having noticed how the TMOs or the production people of the French television networks work, they will show you every little thing that goes wrong with the opposition team. Their team, they never show things. So when something happens, suddenly the replays will stop, and they'll show you funny things in the crowd, or they'll show you announcers and stuff, but they won't show you their team's foul play. And I know that you don't cry afterwards, and you take it as it comes. But in France, it's a very nasty habit, and they can jump up and down. They can say whatever they like. It's so blatantly obvious in the game. How many times they will show it repeatedly? They will show something which they seem, and you end up with the referee with the crowd booing and the crowd going on. So I think it's a thing that. The rest of the world has now just moved on, and the guys are pretty much doing their own thing, and it's pretty neutral, if you want to call it. But the French TV producers are on a nasty piece of work.
Yes, Jan, I could understand his frustration. And another big problem coaches have there is the language barrier with the officials. And I had my own experience in 2003 when we played France with a junior box in Paris at under 19 level. You're only supposed, there's no extra time, no injury time, nothing. It's like 35 minutes and it's game over. And the 35 minutes was over, and we were leading the game against France 25. And the game went on for 9 minutes, and they actually scored twice. We won the game 20-15, but I can understand Van Graan's issue there, and it really is a problem, language barrier. And most probably the rest of the world will say, and a lot of people say, "Oh, stop whining and take it on the chin." It's easy sometimes for people to say, "Take it on the chin," but when coaches work so hard, they put in a big effort, and on the day, stuff like that appears, it can have an influence on the result. And I actually felt for him, and I could understand the frustration. But the result is there, and he's done a great job with that team. Just carry on doing what he's doing, and I guess that problem won't be resolved very easy because they don't think there's a problem.
Yeah, I agree. Well, let's move on to this coming weekend, round 17 of the URC, and there's still 9 teams in the running. So Connacht is the only team outside of the top 8 that are still in the running that can overtake somebody. But let's start with Friday, Eugene, and it's a very interesting scenario. So Glasgow host Cardiff in Glasgow, and then Ulster host the Stormers. Now the Stormers are top of the log, and Glasgow are second. So you would expect Glasgow to get a win, even though Cardiff is also in the top 8 and almost certain to qualify. And Ulster is in the running. They're sitting pretty in their position. So it's going to make for a very interesting Friday night. And I think the Stormers, they're a team with confidence. They maybe they still lack a few key players or a bit of depth in some key positions, but I think they're playing some good rugby. And as John Dobson said, after they went over Glasgow, they're now a proper team. They can now believe that, and they're a proper team. They can play against the best and beat the best.
Okay, yeah, I can understand that statement. I think this weekend might be that proper game. But let's just go to Friday to Glasgow, Cardiff. I think Frank Poo, you can also see his frustration with the team, with the 2 losses they had here, the rhythm they couldn't find the balance. I think they're going to be a difficult team at home, playing Cardiff. It's not going to be a walkover, but I do believe that they will get their things together. The team will gel again, and they will want to go back to winning ways. On the other side, Cardiff will think, but listen, they are ready to be picked. So both these matches are going to be massive. I agree with Dobbo. I could see for the first time that everything was working. But, when everything is working, sometimes it doesn't work. And Ulster in Ireland is going to be a difficult team. They will know they're up for a game. They're not going to just sit on their laurels and go through the process. They will be very, very aware of what the Stormers are bringing. But I do agree with Dobbo and yourself that if the Stormers can put another presentation like that they did this weekend, they take that game to Ulster and dominate the physical attrition of the game, I'm sure they'll have a win there.
Yeah. The one thing that's significant, and Dobbo also spoke about this at length, is the 4G pitches. It's almost like playing on a tartan track. You got to stay on your feet, and because if you fall on the ground, you get, we used to call it carpet burn or grass burns or stuff. This is like a tar burn. It's proper serious injuries. And the Stormers don't enjoy that. So Glasgow Warriors complain because when they come to South Africa, they play on grass, heavy grass, and they don't enjoy that because they're so used to the 4G pitches. And Ulster is used to their pitch, and the Stormers are going to struggle. So that's a definite one advantage that Ulster has. And I think the thing with Glasgow also is they are getting some of their players back. So against Cardiff, they're getting some of their key players back, which they didn't bring to South Africa. So they get about 4 or 5 internationals back. And the problem, and Franco Smith said it as well, and repeatedly, after both losses in South Africa, is that they got to somewhere manage these international players. Because the guys start playing in January, and they come out of November, and there's no real break, and they play in Europe, and they play. Then there's the Six Nations, and then in the Six Nations, these players don't get a break, and it's full high-intensity rugby. Then they come out of that, and they straight back into Europe. So that's a challenge for these teams, and that's why they didn't bring all their players to South Africa. And those players are back now, so it will be a different, and at home, it will be a very different Glasgow team. So, for me on Friday night, I will put money on Glasgow, and I think Stormers to sneak it. I know people will say I'm mad, but I think the Stormers to sneak it. They just got enough belief, and they play a more conservative. I know John Dobson doesn't like the word conservative, but it's playoff rugby. They a more focused team, and you don't have these attempts like they did against Connacht, where they try and force things. And Sasha played a really, really good, probably one of his better games of the season, and he played a more controlled, clinical game of directing the team.
Yeah, Jan, the proof of the pudding is the eating. We can talk as much as we want to. It's what's going to happen between the 4 lines this weekend. And the one thing is a factor that I thought now, as we were speaking, usually when you plan your opponents playing away, you look at things like the home crowd, home field, etc. That pitch definitely has an influence, and it has it gives them an advantage because they also train on it. So they understand it, they know to fall on it. So yeah, good luck. I'm looking forward. I agree with you with your results that you predicted.
Eugene, let me move to Saturday, and before we get to your team, we've got 2 South African teams at home. So we've got the Bulls hosting Zebra and the Sharks hosting the other Italian team, Benetton. Now, both Italian teams are out of the running. The Sharks are out of the running, so that match in Durban is a dead rubber, except that it's the next 2 weeks is Siya Kolisi's last 2 games before he moves to Cape Town. He returns to Cape Town. So I suppose that'd be the interest, watching how Siya performs. And you know, if as you got enough good form, is he okay for the international season, that sort of stuff. But I think the important game is the Bulls against Zebre. You know, they need 5 points because they can move up and they can book their place in the playoffs. So they'll be looking for 5 points, and maybe they can get a top four because we know what awaits the Lions. You know, so they've got two tough games in Ireland. So I think the Bulls, if they can get 5 points here and 5 points next week when they play Benetton, 10 points will put them in a good position to finish in the top four. You know, if the Lions don't come to the party, then the Bulls can finish in the top four along with the Stormers. So, so I would seriously think the Bulls has got too much for Zebre.
Yeah, you know what makes this weekend the Italian side's dangerous. They got nothing to lose, so they're gonna chuck the ball and they're gonna play. I believe they're gonna try and play expensive rugby. They're gonna try and if we talk about the Bulls game, they're gonna try and break their structure. And I've played, but the Bulls are currently on in such a good space. You know, their confidence is there. They've got a good pattern of play. Their backup is good. Their bench is strong. I think there's a strong vibe, and Akis will know this is a game. Both of these games that he will ID that he needs to get 5 from both. So I believe the Bulls. Zebre has been very inconsistent the whole season, and it's going to be tough on the IFL for them. So I back the Bulls. The Sharks will want to. They're going to play for pride. I don't think the Kulisi thing is going to be such a big thing. He's just another player. And it will be emotional for him as well, and for his supporters there. But the Sharks will want to get back to winning ways as well, and just play for pride, and maybe put a decent game together for their fans and for themselves that they can take forward. Benetton again, side they got nothing to lose. They're gonna come. They're gonna bring a game, and they're also playing for pride. And then I guess I will kick off then with a final game where we both have Legion with my Lions playing at Leinster. Now Leinster has beaten Toulon this weekend, so so they on a high. They're also getting a few players back. They have not fired on all their cylinders yet, and the Lions again has at home. So I think this is very, very important for the Lions to go out there with a belief that they can beat Leinster in Ireland. It's going to be tough, but I believe this team, with also again coming back to the word confidence and momentum they have, it's possible. But it's going to be a tough game there. I'm looking forward. That's my match of the weekend that I'll highlight as the main game, and I will go with my Lions with a close win.
Eugene, for once I agree with you. I think it is the game of the weekend, without a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt, the game of the weekend. Firstly, because it's 3 against 4, and you know, it's a significant game for the Lions. They 3 points away from qualifying for the playoffs for the first time, so they're going to get some points somewhere from these games, or hope that Connacht lose. Because I mean, obviously, if Connacht lose and Connacht host Munster, so there's a reality, the Irish derby. So you know, there's a good chance that Connacht don't make it. And Munster, as we know, is also in the running for a playoff place. So I think Connacht is going to look to, or Munster is going to look to put Connacht away, because they know that you know, a loss could be detrimental to their playoff hopes. So you know, if Connacht loses, then the Lions are through in any event. But I still think they will look, and they've got the confidence. I think the one thing we've seen, I know it's not Ellis Park, I know it's Dublin, and you know, it's a different stadium, and the Lions have not always been that good. But the Lions, when they get it on, when they get it right on the day, I think they're a team that can scare Leinster, and I foresee a high scoring game, somewhere in the region of 40 points to 35 or something. But I hope upon hope that the Lions sneak it.
Jan, you really think it's going to be high? You know, in playoffs, defense is better, so scores are not high. But I like your idea. But before we carry on, I would like to ask the permission that we talk about the Under-20 Championship Cup. And you know what? I'll tell you why. Because it's been always a junior Springbok rugby has always been close to my heart, and to the world outside there, and I guess there's not a lot of international people listening to our podcast, I predict now that South Africa is going to be a force for the next 8 years, 5 to 8 years, with the juniors that are coming through the process. In my time that I've been involved with junior rugby in our country, Jan, and with the Junior Springboks, this one probably is the best team of them all. And I want to take hats off for Kevin Foote and Baron Peters and their coaching team to keep these guys level-headed on the ground. They are just a good coach team. And I mean, they've already theoretically won this competition. I know there are people that come with permutations, but let me tell you what, this weekend their game, New Zealand, Australia last week was a close game. So we damaged Australia's junior rugby. I mean, you know the score. And then the big surprise, New Zealand losing against Argentina. And we gave Argentina a big hiding as well. So we're going into this last match with 10 points. New Zealand and Argentina 5 and Australia 2. I think we're going to walk this competition, and junior rugby in our country is very, very healthy. And again, I'm going to take it back and repeat myself to say it goes back to our school systems, feeding into our junior structures, feeding into our senior teams and so on. I'm a proud South African rugby supporter, or ex-coach, or whatever you call it in modern days.
Eugene, you're a former coach, not an ex-coach. You're still alive, so you're just a former coach. Eugene, yeah, I agree with you. I'm also the Baby Boks, a soft spot. I've got a soft spot for the Baby Boks. In Riley Norton and his team, you know, that experience. Remember, he led us to the World Championship last year, the Under-20 World Championship, and he's going to do it again. I mean, that team has got actual experience in terms of age group rugby. You know, they've played for 2 years now. Quite a few of them has played for 2 years now that they played at this level, so they will know what's coming. And now also think our pipeline, the system, like you just mentioned, Kevin and them, the pipeline, the system of bringing through players, quality players, is really healthy at the moment. That goes up to Rassie and the systems that he introduced, and now with Dave Wessels and those guys, that, you know, they keep the systems going. It's if something works, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. You know, and I think it's a good system that's working for us. Maybe we need to tweak here and there, and I'm sure Kevin Foote and his team will make some tweaks. But I agree with you. I see another Baby Bok win and a really good tournament win for South Africa. And then it's on to the Junior World Cup.
Yes, and the World Cup is in Georgia this year, if I recall right. So that's going to be interesting at its own. But good luck to the guys. They're doing us proud so far. But Jan, we must end off with our SA Cup. And I know you've watched all the games.
Yeah, Eugene, I don't watch all the games because they're not on television, but I try and watch the games that are on television. And Friday night, we've got Griquas traveling to Bloemfontein for the biggest derby. If Griquas win and the Cheetahs don't get their 4 points, the reality is the Cheetahs won't play in the Currie Cup for the first time in their history. And that's, you know, that's how desperate they are. And Frans Steyn last week already, we had the thing. Frans Steyn last week already said, you know, they might not make the cut, and that's a sad thing, you know. So that's a big game for me. That's also a big game. Luckily, it's early enough so we can watch that game and then later on watch the Stormers game. But yeah, I think Frans Steyn, you know, he was very philosophical this week when I sat in on the press conference. But I think the thing that he said, the phrase that he used, he says, we got ourselves into this mess, we must get ourselves out of it. And that's a good attitude for a coach to have. You know, it's our fault, we made it. And then he pointed out that Jimmy Stonehouse and Heineke and Peter Berg, all those guys have been through ups and downs in their life, and they've learned how to come out of it. He's still a baby in terms of coaching experience, and you will know that. You know, you go through stages where things don't go your way, and if you learn from that the proper way, and I'm sure Frans will learn. As a player, he showed he's got a good rugby brain. I think he will come out of this, and you know, maybe Cheetahs are in a difficult position, but who knows? You know, Frans might just be the person to put them back in a big spot.
Yeah, I think a team. I understand Frans's frustration. I think a team like the Cheetahs would have liked to play against any other team, but the Griquas currently who's the top of the lot team, and they seem to bring it together. And I mean, the SVD game, SVD was ahead when they played. Griek was there, I think 12-0 at one stage, then 12-all. I want to take my hat off for Heineke Meyer. He's changed SVD around in one season. I mean, what he did with that team, where they were and where they're now, it's a massive jump. You can see with structures in there, there's a belief in the team, and he's building a nice franchise there at SVD. Well done, Heineke. And then, of course, my team, my other team, the Boland, that went up and nearly caused the upset there at the Pumas. It came close, but at the end of the day, with the last scoring try, the Pumas won that game. Pretty much the picking order is sorted. And, you know, I know that the SAA Cup doesn't get a lot of attention, but I think it deserves more because there's some great players there, coaching doing a great job there. And we really hope for the Cheetahs that they can pull this off, but it's going to be tough. But nothing in life is impossible. You know, it's a home ground game, and let's really hope that they can revive what they did.
Yeah, Eugene, I agree with you. I think that's a good point to stop it at. We've covered all our bases. So until next week, and hopefully next week we've got a special guest, Eugene. We're busy working on something, and hopefully we've got another special guest next week, and then we'll see how things go. So from myself, Jan de Koning.
And Loppie, have a lekker week. Enjoy the Ragas.
See you next week. Cheers.